ever felt that strange connection between, say, a tight jaw and a stiff lower back?
Uh-huh.
Or how a knot of worry deep in your gut seems linked to, I don't know, a persistent tension headache?
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like these seemingly unrelated stresses are all, plugged into the same secret system.
Exactly. And what if there's this omnipresent, often overlooked tissue that actually links everything?
Well, that's what we're diving into today, the fascinating world of fascia, the body's hidden continuous web.
And this isn't just about, like, anatomy class diagrams. It feels much more profound. We're going to try and unravel how our physical structure, ancient wisdom, and some really cutting-edge modern science all converge.
Right, and offer some surprising insights into resolving these nagging tensions, hopefully.
Our mission really is to explore this continuous web of fascia, understand its crucial role in our reflexes, our emotional states.
And delve into that compelling connection between our heart and brain. It's a big one.
Yeah, and then synthesize all these insights into some powerful, actionable practices, things you can actually use.
It's sort of a quest for embodied harmony. We're aiming to bring clarity, peace, and unity both within ourselves, personally, and maybe even in how we interact with the world.
We'll be bridging established science with some ideas that are, well, maybe a bit speculative, but still grounded.
Yeah, trying to paint a larger picture of how we can potentially resolve these tensions in body and mind, and maybe, just maybe, expand that clarity outwards.
Okay, let's kick off this deep dive. Part 1, the body's hidden web. Fascia explained. So what exactly is fascia? It's a word we hear a lot, especially in yoga or body work, but it can feel a bit slippery.
It can, yeah. At its simplest, you can think of fascia as a sheet or like a band of connective tissue, mostly made of collagen.
Okay.
Think of it as the ultimate biological packing material. It literally surrounds and interconnects pretty much every structure in your body, your muscles, organs, nerves, blood vessels, everything.
So it's not just a wrapper.
No, not at all. Beyond just wrapping things, it plays a crucial role in letting structures glide smoothly past each other. And, really significantly, it transmits mechanical tension throughout the entire system. That's key.
Right, so it's not just isolated pieces or separate sheets dotted around. The understanding seems to have shifted beyond that.
That's absolutely right, and that's where it gets truly interesting. The crucial understanding now is that fascia isn't a collection of separate sheets. It's a continuous body-wide network.
Continuous.
Yeah, a single three-dimensional web that wraps, interpenetrates, and connects everything. Imagine like a really intricate spider web spun throughout your entire body.
Wow.
This concept is beautifully illustrated by the idea of myofascial meridians, or anatomy trains, a theory popularized by Thomas Myers.
Anatomy trains, that's a compelling image. Like a railway system inside us.
Kind of, yeah. It's a good way to think about it. These aren't literal tubes, obviously, but continuous lines or chains of fascia linking muscles, tendons, ligaments, even bones into functional units, spanning from your head right down to your toes. Can you give an example?
Sure. The superficial back line is a classic. It runs all the way from the plantar fascia under your foot.
The sole of the foot.
Exactly. Up through your calves, your hamstrings, the big sheet of thoracolumbar fascia in your lower back, along your spine, and right up to the fascia on your scalp. It's one continuous band.
That's incredible.
And there are other major lines too, like the superficial front line, the lateral line running down the sides, the spiral line that wraps around the body, and the deep front line, which is often considered the core line.
Okay, so if it is one continuous web, how does tension actually move through it? Can a strain in my ankle really affect my shoulder?
Absolutely. Think of the bed sheet analogy.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay.
If you tug on one corner of a fitted sheet on a bed, the whole fabric shifts, right?
Yeah.
Not just the corner you pulled.
Right, yeah.
That's mechanical continuity in action. The collagen fibers in fascia are arranged in these long, continuous chains, so tension isn't isolated when a muscle contracts, or even when you just hold a certain posture.
Like hunching over a desk all day. Exactly like that. The load isn't just transferred to the muscle's tendon. It's distributed through the fascial network to other connected structures.
So that perpetual desk hunch isn't just tiring out my back muscles. It's actually creating a kind of tension memory throughout my entire fascial system.
You've hit on a really important point. Fascia is dynamic, it's alive, it can stiffen, it can shorten, it can even thicken in response to chronic stress, injury, or habitual posture.
It adapts.
It adapts. And this adaptation can subtly, or sometimes quite dramatically, alter your joint alignment and movement patterns far away from the original site of the strain.
So the nagging pain in my neck might actually be like whispering secrets about my foot posture.
It could be. Or that persistent shoulder tightness could have roots way down in your lower back mechanics. It really makes you consider, for yourself listening, what seemingly unrelated aches or stiffness might be connected through this hidden web in your own body.
That makes profound sense. If it's all connected like that, are there certain areas like junctions or hubs where tension tends to accumulate, or where these lines of force cross paths more often?
Yeah, it's quite insightful how some regions act like major junctions. Think of them like the central cross beams in a big tent structure.
Or like major highway interchanges?
Exactly. The thoracolumbar fascia, that dense diamond shape in the T7 to L5 area of your lower back, is a prime candidate for being a central point.
Why that area specifically? What makes it so central?
Well, its anatomical connections are incredibly extensive. It links your spine, your pelvis, your rib cage, and even the fascia of your upper and lower limbs through big muscles like the lats latissimus dorsi and the gluteus maximus.
Wow, okay.
It's a true force crossroads. Almost every major movement you make, walking, lifting, twisting, funnels force through this region, plus deep core muscles like the transversus abdominis attach here and integrating tension from the front and back of your body.
So restrictions there.
Exactly. Clinically, restrictions in the thoracolumbar fascia can whipple upwards into shoulder movement or downwards into hip and knee mechanics. A tight lower back is rarely just a lower back problem.
Okay, so that's a huge hub. Are there other significant ones?
Yes, absolutely. The pelvic fascia is another big one, connecting your legs, spine, and your abdominal organs.
Right.
The diaphragm's central tendon is fascinating too. It ties together thoracic and abdominal fascial layers. It's crucial for breathing mechanics, but often overlooked in full body tension patterns.
Breathing, yeah. That makes sense.
And then the cervical fascia in your neck. It connects your head, your jaw, and your trunk. So another key area for integrating forces and posture.
So the spine seems to have several of these interchanges.
It does. If you think of the spine's fascial highways, the thoracolumbar region is the biggest interchange. The cervicothoracic junction around C7-T2, where your neck meets your upper back, is like a secondary interchange, linking head and neck posture to the rest of the spine. And the sacral base down at L5S1 acts as the mechanical foundation, the main southern hub of this whole system.
This description makes fascia sound incredibly dynamic and structural. Way more than just wrapping paper.
It truly is. That's why we often describe fascia as a soft skeleton.
A soft skeleton. I like that.
Yeah, unlike the rigid bones of your actual skeleton, fascia forms this three-dimensional, flexible, elastic, and adaptive web. It supports and shapes your body's structure from the inside out.
So it's less about forcing correct posture.
Exactly. It's more about providing both support and freedom of movement. It dynamically distributes tension, helping you maintain posture and move efficiently, not rigidly. When your fascia is healthy, hydrated, and supple, your posture can actually feel naturally effortless.
Effortless posture. I like the sound of that. Facilitated by this dynamic, soft skeleton. And what makes it so incredibly dynamic and responsive, you said, is that it's packed with nerve endings. So fascia is truly a sensory organ in its own right.
That's a really key insight, yeah. Fascia is indeed richly innervated with sensory nerve endings. Loads of them. And this is precisely why manual therapy, like massage or rolfing, or even just stretching or putting gentle pressure on fascia, can have such profound effects on how you feel.
It's not just about physically breaking up a knot.
Not just that, it's like you're communicating directly with your nervous system through these receptors.
Okay, so what kind of nerve endings are we talking about? How does fascia actually sense things?
Well, there are several types. You've got Ruffini endings, which sense sustained pressure and stretch. They're the ones likely firing when you feel that slow, melting sensation during a long-held stretch.
Oh, okay.
Then there are Pacinian corpuscles. They detect vibration and rapid pressure changes. Think of the quick feedback you get from a sudden impact or tap.
Right.
You also find countless free nerve endings. These are multitaskers. They detect pain, chemical changes in the tissue, temperature shifts.
So inflammation or irritation.
Exactly. And finally, there are receptors similar to Golgi tendon organs, which respond to tension, to pull in the tissue. They give your brain really nuanced feedback on how much load an area is experiencing.
So with all these sensors, fascia must be involved in knowing where your body is in space, proprioception, and also how it feels inside interoception.
Absolutely. You've nailed the two key concepts. Proprioception is your awareness of body position and movement, knowing where your arm is, even with your eyes closed. Fascia definitely contributes significant light to this.
Hmm.
But then there's interoception, which is your awareness of your internal body states. This is more about how your arm feels from the inside, its temperature, maybe a feeling of stiffness, comfort, subtle aches, ease of movement. Fascia's rich sensory input, especially from those Ruffini and free nerve endings, is a huge part of your overall felt state of your tissues. It contributes massively to your general sense of bodily well-being or lack thereof.
That explains why fascial work can sometimes feel so calming or even emotional. It's like you're speaking directly to your nervous system's internal sensors. Are some fascial areas hotspots, then, with even more receptors than others?
Yes, that's right. Certain fascial regions are especially dense with these sensory receptors. Often, these are areas that need to stabilize key joints or protect vital structures, or areas that experience constant mechanical load and need lots of feedback. They're truly the hotspots on your body's internal sensory map.
Can you give us some examples of these high-density zones? Where should we pay attention?
Sure. The plantar fascia on the sole of your foot is a huge one. It needs to constantly sense pressure and tension for balance and walking.
Makes sense.
Your palmar fascia in the palm of your hand, essential for fine grip, manipulation, and that detailed tactile feedback.
Okay.
The thoracolumbar fascia in your lower back, which we talked about as a central hub, it's packed with receptors because of its role in posture control and load transfer.
Right.
Also, the fascia around major joints, think the capsules around your knee, hip, and shoulder. They're dense with receptors to detect joint angle, tension, and potential injury risk. The deep cervical fascia in your neck is another key one, integrating head and neck position, crucial for balance and orientation. And maybe surprisingly, even the meningeal duramater.
The what now?
The tough membrane surrounding your brain and spinal cord, it senses intracranial and spinal tension, and dysfunction there might even contribute to certain types of headaches.
Wow. So for us listening, these hotspots are where our body is constantly gathering critical information about its internal state and how it's interacting with gravity and movement.
Exactly. It's where the body needs the most detailed, real-time data.
That makes perfect sense. It's
Exactly.
like where the rubber meets the road or where the most complex movement happens.
Right.
But you also mentioned fascial plasticity. We hear about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Does fascia do something similar?
This is another key insight, and yes, it does in its own way. While fascia doesn't have neurons that rewire like the brain, it is absolutely a living tissue made of collagen, elastin, fibroblasts, the cells that make fibers, and this gel-like ground substance. And it remodels itself in response to mechanical forces.
So it has its own form of plasticity.
Exactly. But it's more structural and mechanical. Think of it like this. If you consistently load or stretch fascia in a certain way, it adapts.
So if I start a new exercise routine or consciously work on changing my posture, my fascia actually changes its structure over time.
Precisely. Chronic tension, specific types of stretching, or new movement patterns can cause fascia to thicken in some areas, maybe stiffen, or even loosen and become more pliable in others. This can be a positive adaptation, making your body more resilient for that activity, or it can be negative, leading to adhesions, fibrosis, restrictions.
And the cells within the fascia are driving this.
Yeah, the fibroblasts are the main players. They're incredibly responsive little guys. They react to mechanical stimuli stretch, compression by producing more or less collagen, enzymes that break down old tissue, and signaling molecules.
Yeah.
So your fascia can literally learn and adapt to new movement habits, posture, or even therapeutic interventions.
That's quite intelligent for, connected tissue. And hydration must be key here too, right? That ground substance you mentioned.
Crucial. The gel-like ground substance in fascia holds water, and its hydration level affects its sliding ability and pliability. Think of it like well-hydrated fascia lets layers glide smoothly. Poorly hydrated fascia gets sticky.
Like trying to slide on dry surfaces versus wet ones.
Kind of, yeah. Regular, varied movement helps maintain healthy hydration and elasticity. You're literally training your fascia to stay flexible and responsive. So when you combine mindful body awareness, which uses neuroplasticity to rewire your brain's map of your body, with movement and fascial stretching, which uses fascial plasticity to physically remodel the tissue, you create this incredibly powerful synergy.
Ah, the combination.
Right. Your nervous system learns to sense and move more freely, and your fascia physically adapts to support that new function. It can lead to reduced pain, improved mobility, and a much more integrated sense of embodiment, feeling like you're really in your body.
This journey through the fascial web is really showing how interconnected our physical body is. Now, let's try and link this to something even more primitive, our reflexes, and how they might influence the chronic tensions we hold on to. Let's delve into the primitive startle reflex.
Right. This leads us to consider, how do these deeply ingrained, almost ancient responses affect our physical tensions today? The startle reflex, that sudden, involuntary jump or flinch you make.
Yeah, when someone drops something loud.
Exactly. It's a fundamental protective mechanism, and it's present right from birth. In infants, it's known as the Moro reflex.
Ah, the Moro reflex.
Yeah.
I remember learning about that, the kind of startle and hug response babies have.
Precisely. The Moro reflex in infants is this widespread, generalized response to sudden stimuli, like a loud sound or a feeling of falling. The infant rapidly throws their arms and legs outward, then brings them back in as if to hug, often with a very distinct backward extension of the neck.
That's a whole body thing.
Totally. It engages major muscle groups throughout the neck, shoulders, arms, legs, even the deep core muscles and back extensors. It's designed for survival.
And as we grow up, it becomes more subtle, more refined.
Yes, exactly. The adult startle reflex is essentially a modified version. It's less exaggerated because our higher brain centers mature and learn to modulate the response. It's still a rapid protective reaction, though, especially involving quick tension in the neck and shoulders. Interestingly, the neck movement in adults can be more variable. Sometimes it's a forward flexion, a tucking in, or it can still be that backward extension, depending on where the perceived threat is coming from.
Okay, so how does fascia play into these super rapid involuntary responses?
Well, fascia is crucial because it's the tissue that transmits and coordinates these rapid muscular contractions throughout the body during the startle. Those superficial and deep fascial networks we talked about, they're what enable that whole body shudder or quick jerk.
And the neck fascia must be key.
Especially key, yes. The cervical fascia plays a particularly crucial role in the neck's rapid forward or backward movements. It envelops and interconnects muscles like the sternocleidomastoid, SCM, the trapezius, the scalenes, all involved in sudden head movements. Its continuity with the fascia over the skull and down the back helps transmit that tension almost instantaneously. Plus, the sensory input from the fascia helps the nervous system trigger and modulate these reflexes efficiently.
So here's the big question. If these early reflex patterns, like the Moro reflex with its neck extension, persist or get overactivated somehow, can they actually create lasting tension patterns in adulthood? It often feels like my neck, for instance, is just always tight, like it's bracing.
They absolutely can. That's a really insightful connection. The persistence or overactivation of early reflex patterns can definitely have lasting impacts on chronic muscle and fascial tension, particularly in the neck. Well, take that strong engagement of the neck, extensors the muscles at the back of the neck during the Moro reflex's backward head movement. If that pattern doesn't fully integrate, it can lead to chronic tightness in the back of the neck later in life.
And maybe the front compensates?
Exactly. To compensate, the muscles at the front of the neck, like the SCM, might become habitually shortened, contributing to that very common forward head posture, where the head juts forward, the chin lifts slightly, the back of the neck is compressed, and the front looks short.
Which so many of us have from screens and stress.
Right. It's often a complex mix of muscular habits, fascial adaptation, and underlying neural patterns.
So the body literally starts to reinforce these habits in the fascia itself. It gets stuck that way.
Precisely. Fascia responds to these habitual tension patterns by stiffening and shortening in certain lines, reinforcing the imbalance. And it goes deeper. These early reflexes can leave neural imprints. It's like the nervous system gets programmed to default to these specific tension patterns, especially when under stress, perpetuating a cycle of tightness and misalignment.
I've also noticed, just personally, a surprising amount of tension in my face, like around my jaw and temples. What's going on there with facial fascia?
That's a great point. The face, with over 40 muscles just for expression, speech, and chewing, holds a remarkable amount of fascial tension. It's partly due to constant activity, yes, but also heavily influenced by emotional stress.
Jaw clenching, brow furrowing.
Exactly. Habitual expressions and even poor posture radiating tension upwards from the neck and scalp through that continuous fascial web we discussed. All these factors contribute to the density and sometimes less pliable nature of facial fascia compared to other areas.
Okay, and here's where we step into really intriguing, maybe more speculative territory. Yeah. I've heard this idea, floated in some circles, that fascial tension patterns might even be inherited. Through something like epigenetics. Is there any thinking behind that?
Right. Here's where we stretch the boundaries into emerging areas of thought, but it's a fascinating concept. The idea that fascial tension patterns might be influenced by epigenetics is still largely theoretical, but it has a compelling sort of logical basis.
So remind us, epigenetics is about changes in how genes are expressed, not the genes themselves.
Exactly. Changes in gene expression without altering the underlying DNA sequence. And these changes can be influenced by environmental factors, stress, trauma, nutrition, and crucially, they can sometimes be passed down across generations.
So the hypothesis would be if my parents or grandparents experienced significant chronic stress or trauma that manifested as physical tension.
The hypothesis, yeah, is that if a parent experienced chronic fascial tension, it might cause epigenetic changes that influence how their offspring's connective tissue develops or responds to stress. This could, theoretically, predispose descendants to altered fascial tone, perhaps increased stiffness, or maybe a greater vulnerability to pain in certain areas.
Wow, that's a heavy thought.
It is, and it's important to emphasize this is speculative. But beyond strict epigenetics, we also need to consider other inherited influences. Postural habits learned by imitation, movement patterns passed down, the prenatal environment, maternal stress hormones crossing the placenta can affect fetal development, including connective tissue. And then there's cultural or psychological inheritance, where emotional trauma gets stored as body memory and influences how tension patterns develop and are held generationally.
So it's a real frontier, blending genetics, body work, psychology, mind-body medicine.
Definitely. It challenges us to think about health and predisposition in a much broader, more interconnected way. Is certainly food for thought for you, the listener, about patterns you might recognize in yourself or your family.
That is a profound thought, the idea of inherited tension patterns. Okay, let's shift gears now to the nervous system's responses, which can sometimes feel a bit irrational, and explore pathways to safety. We've talked about fight or flight, the sympathetic drive, but there's also the freeze response, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is different.
Right. And this is where polyvagal theory offers some really useful insights. We typically associate the parasympathetic nervous system, PNS, with rest and digest, but it's more layered than that. There's the ventral vagal complex, which is associated with social engagement, feeling safe, calm, connected, genuine rest and recovery.
Okay, the good parasympathetic.
Kind of, yeah. But then there's the dorsal vagal complex. This is an older branch, evolutionarily speaking, and it mediates the freeze or shutdown response. This is the body's ultimate protective mechanism when fight or flight seems impossible or futile. It leads to decreased heart rate, reduced muscle tone, maybe even fainting, a kind of immobilization like playing dead.
Which is physiologically the opposite of the startle or fight-flight activation.
Exactly. One is high-energy mobilization, the other is conservation and shutdown.
So it makes you wonder, why do we often experience that fight or flight mobilization? The racing heart, the tense muscles when our bank account is low, or we have a deadline looming. It's not exactly a physical threat like a tiger chasing us. It seems irrational.
It absolutely can feel irrational from our conscious perspective, and it's a clear evolutionary mismatch. Our nervous system's core threat detection mechanisms evolved over millennia to react to immediate physical dangers in the environment.
Right. Saber-toothed tigers, rival tribes.
Exactly. Modern psychological stressors, financial insecurity, job pressures, social anxieties, information overload are interpreted by the brain's ancient alarm systems, particularly the amygdala, as if they're those kinds of physical dangers.
So the brain doesn't really differentiate.
It struggles to. It processes both physical and psychological threats through very similar neural pathways. So worrying about your mortgage payment can activate the same physiological stress cast, cortisol release, adrenaline, muscle tension, increase vigilance as encountering a bear in the woods. The nervous system defaults to the fastest, most primitive protective response it knows.
Okay, so this continuous internal alarm bell ringing, often without a clear physical threat or outlet for the energy, that must cause real problems over time.
You're absolutely right. The pervasive implication here is that chronic or conflicting activation of these different defense systems, being stuck in startle preparedness, bouncing between fight, flight, and freeze, creates persistent tensions and deep imbalances in our muscles, our fascia, and the nervous system itself.
How does that manifest physically?
Well, chronic sympathetic activation, being stuck in on mode, leads to that pervasive muscle tightening, especially in the neck, shoulders, jaw. It leads to fascial stiffening, hypervigilance, maybe shallow breathing.
Right.
Chronic dorsal vagal activation, the freeze state, can be more complex. It might initially involve limpness or collapse, but can also lead to fat-full restrictions over time as the body kind of locks down metabolically and physically to conserve energy and protect itself, reducing movement and breath capacity.
And if you oscillate between them.
That creates its own chaos. When the nervous system oscillates unpredictably between high alert and shutdown, the body develops these really dysregulated tension patterns, often with asymmetries, fascial adhesions, and a general feeling of being stuck or unsafe in your own skin. The body remains trapped in protective strategies that are no longer helpful.
This really highlights the crucial need, then, to cultivate a sense of safety within our nervous system. How to even begin to shift out of these stuck protective states? It sounds difficult.
It can be, but it's possible. A critical point emerges from this understanding. The nervous system needs specific conditions, specific signals, to feel safe enough to downregulate its defenses and shift back towards that ventral vagal state of calm, connection, and restoration.
What are those key factors? What signals safety?
Several things are key. Social connection and positive engagement, feeling genuinely seen, heard, understood by safe others, powerfully activates the ventral vagal system, our social engagement network.
So healthy relationships matter physiologically.
Hugely. Also, a sense of predictability and control, knowing what to expect, having choices, feeling some agency, reduces that hypervigilant scanning for threats. A comfortable physical environment helps too. Quiet, calm spaces, feeling physically supported and safe.
And internal factors.
Yes. Mindful awareness and present moment focus are vital. Gently noticing bodily sensations, thoughts, and emotions without judgment helps interrupt rumination and threat spirals. And finally, cultivating positive internal cues, sensations of ease, warmth, gentle expansion, and especially slow, deep, diaphragmatic breathing. Deep, slow breaths are a direct signal to the vagus nerve that things are okay.
So the goal isn't to eliminate the startle reflex or the capacity for fight or flight.
Not at all. The body never truly lets down its guard completely. Those protective mechanisms need to remain available. But it can operate from a baseline state where chronic tension and stress are minimal, where relaxation predominates, but readiness is still there. It's about finding that dynamic balance, allowing for both deep rest and rapid reaction when genuinely needed. That's the physiological ideal we're aiming for with these practices.
That concept of cultivating internal safety, that dynamic balance, is so crucial. And now this leads us to what might be the most, compelling or maybe even provocative part of our deep dive today. The heart as a unity organ, bridging modern science and ancient wisdom. I've heard in alternative medicine circles and even some spiritual traditions that the heart is sometimes called a sense organ. Is there any actual mainstream scientific support for that kind of claim?
It's a truly fascinating area, and yes, while it's not a traditional sensory organ like your eyes or ears, the idea that the heart functions somewhat like a sense organ has increasingly intriguing support in mainstream science.
Really? How so?
Well, the heart itself contains a rich network of specialized nerve cells, mechanoreceptors that sense stretch, baroreceptors monitoring blood pressure, proprioceptors tracking its own position and rhythm. It's constantly gathering data about its own state and the state of the circulation. This constitutes significant sensory input flowing from the heart.
So the heart is constantly communicating with the brain, not just passively receiving signals from the brain.
Absolutely. Heart-brain communication is profoundly bidirectional. It happens via the vagus nerve, a huge information highway, and also through sympathetic pathways. And this communication influences much more than just heart rate. It affects our emotional processing, our attention, our cognitive functions.
Is that related to heart rate variability, HRV?
Exactly. HRV, the measure of the variation in time between heartbeats, is a key indicator of this heart-brain dialogue and overall autonomic nervous system balance. Higher, more coherent HRV reflects a flexible, adaptable system that's effectively integrating that sensory information coming from the heart. Essentially, your heart activity is deeply intertwined with your feelings and emotional states. It contributes significantly to our embodied sense of self, how we feel moment to moment.
And I heard this remarkable claim somewhere that more nerve signals actually travel from the heart to the brain than the other way around. Is that really true?
What's truly remarkable is that, yes, research strongly supports that claim. Afferent signals, meaning those nerve signals traveling from the heart to the brain, do indeed significantly outnumber the efferent signals going from the brain to the heart.
Wow.
Yeah. The implication is huge. It means the heart isn't just a passive pump dutifully following commands. It's an active sensory and endocrine organ, profoundly informing the brain about the body's overall status, its internal environment. This continuous feedback loop is essential for holistic self-regulation.
That's a massive shift in perspective, certainly from a traditional Western mechanical view of the heart. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, how does Eastern medicine view the heart? It seems they've always seen it as much more than just a pump.
They absolutely have. Eastern medicine traditions offer these incredibly rich perspectives on the heart that go far beyond the purely anatomical. In traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, for instance, the heart, or Shen, is considered the emperor of the body, the home of Shen. Shen is often translated as mind, spirit, or consciousness. The heart in TCM governs mental clarity, emotional balance, awareness, sleep. So heart health is directly linked to psychological and spiritual well-being.
And emotional regulation.
Definitely. Eastern systems link heart health very closely with emotional states. Joy is the emotion of the heart, but imbalances can manifest as anxiety, restlessness, insomnia. They see imbalances in the heart's energy, its qi, as integral to overall physical and mental health. Concepts like the heart meridian in TCM or the heart chakra, anahata, in yogic traditions describe these subtle energy channels linking the heart to other organs and to a broader energetic landscape, implying a sensory and integrative capacity far beyond what conventional anatomy describes.
Okay, now this is where it gets truly maybe speculative and definitely controversial, but it seems grounded in some intriguing, if debated, experiments. I've heard that there are studies suggesting the heart can actually show a physiological reaction before the brain consciously processes a stimulus, like looking at an unpredictable random image. What's that about?
Right. This really pushes the boundaries and makes you wonder, can the heart sense things beyond ordinary anatomical pathways? Some studies, perhaps most famously those conducted by Dr. Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, have reported findings where participants' heart physiological measures, like HRV or electrodermal activity, showed changes milliseconds before they were consciously presented with a randomly selected emotional stimulus, like a disturbing image versus a calm one.
Before they even saw the image.
According to those studies, yes, suggesting a kind of pre-conscious bodily response, or perhaps what some might call embodied intuition. The body seems to know something is coming.
That sounds like, well, like a non-local connection. Sensing something beyond what normal physical pathways or conventional understanding of time would allow.
Precisely. And that's why it's controversial. The idea of the heart having some form of non-local sensory perception sensing or knowing beyond immediate physical inputs directly challenges conventional scientific models based on linear causality and known biological mechanisms.
What kind of concepts might try to explain that, even speculatively?
Well, it touches on concepts like morphic fields, proposed by the biologist Rupert Sheldrake, another controversial but thought-provoking idea. He suggests there are invisible organizing fields, like blueprints or patterns, that guide biological development and behavior and might carry information non-locally beyond the brain. This also resonates, in a way, with some ancient Eastern notions of subtle energy bodies, like the etheric body, or even modern physics concepts exploring structures in the vacuum energy operating at finer, perhaps informational levels than we can currently measure. It's frontier stuff, for sure.
Okay, whether we accept the non-local aspect or focus on the known afferent signaling, this all leads beautifully to the idea of the heart as a unity organ. Can you elaborate on what that means?
Yeah, the compelling implication, bringing together the science and the wisdom traditions, is that the heart's single central location, its rhythmic, unifying jeet that synchronizes the entire body's circulation, it makes it a powerful symbol and potentially a physiological source of integration and coherence.
Unlike the brain, which is so clearly divided.
Exactly. The heart provides this unifying pulse. This contrasts with the nervous system's inherent duality, divided into left and right hemispheres, sympathetic and parasympathetic branches, sensory and motor pathways, which supports complex, specialized analytical functions. This dynamic perhaps illustrates a fundamental tension, or rather a necessary polarity in living systems. The need for both unity coherence and duality diversity specialization.
So if the heart is a unity sense organ,
Then the powerful afferent signals it sends up to the brain could be conveying integrated holistic information about the body's internal state, its overall coherence, its sense of safety or threat. This heart-based information might fundamentally underpin our embodied sense of unity, wholeness, safety, and being truly present in the moment.
Are there other potential unity organs in the body, perhaps in the brain itself, that might echo or support this integrative function of the heart?
That's a great question. Yes, other structures are sometimes discussed in similar terms. The pineal gland, located deep in the center of the brain, is often called a unity organ. While in humans, its main known role is receiving light information indirectly from the eyes to regulate circadian rhythms via melatonin secretion, coordinating our internal biology with the external light-dark cycle.
The third eye connection.
Right. It has long held that association in spiritual traditions, seen as bridging the physical and non-physical or inner and outer realities. It certainly plays a key role in unifying bodily functions with external cosmic cycles.
Interesting. What else?
Then there's the brainstem, the midbrain, pons and medulla, connecting the cerebrum to the spinal cord. Functionally, the brainstem acts much more like a unity organ than the highly specialized higher brain regions. Though it's anatomically bilateral, its core functions, regulating breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, arousal, sleep-wake cycles, basic reflexes, require incredibly tight integration and coordination to maintain the whole organism's coherence and seamless physiological flow. It's at bedrock of our integrated existence.
And the brainstem and heart must be intimately, constantly connected then for this regulation.
Absolutely essential. The brainstem is the crucial hub for moment-to-moment heart control. The vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10, originates in the medulla and carries those vital parasympathetic signals to slow the heart, promoting calm and recovery. Sympathetic pathways controlling heart rate also originate or relay through the brainstem, increasing heart rate during stress or exertion. Within the brainstem, key cardiovascular control centers like the nucleus tractus solitarius, NTS, which receives sensory input from the heart and blood vessels, and the rostral ventrolateral medulla, RVLM, which sends output signals, constantly integrate information and adjust heart activity to maintain stable blood pressure and respond to the body's needs. They show just how deeply intertwined these core unity organs are.
Okay, pulling this all together, it raises a really provocative thought. Could a lot of modern chronic illness, maybe especially cardiovascular disease, but perhaps even chronic tension and anxiety, largely be a result of a fundamental disconnect between our thinking brain and our feeling-sensing heart? That maybe we live too much in our heads, detached from our body's deeper signals, and especially from our heart's wisdom or integrative capacity.
That's a profound insight, and it's very much in line with emerging perspectives in integrative health, psychosomatic medicine, and mind-body therapies. The premise is exactly that. Modern lifestyles with relentless cognitive demands, chronic stress, often suppression of emotions, can lead to poor body awareness, reduced interoceptive sensitivity, and effectively a functional disconnection from the heart's subtle but powerful signals.
And that disconnect has consequences.
Big consequences. It can dysregulate the autonomic nervous system, leading to reduced vagal tone, less calming influence, heightened sympathetic activity, stuck in fight or flight, which directly increases the risk for cardiovascular problems, hypertension, arrhythmias, and also contributes significantly to chronic muscle tension, anxiety, and that feeling of being fragmented or unsafe. So the therapeutic task, leveraging neuroplasticity and maybe even fascial plasticity, is to consciously reestablish and strengthen this vital connection between brain and heart.
So if the heart truly is this unity center, by consciously connecting our thinking brain with our sensing heart, those chronic tensions and misalignments held throughout the body in the fascia, they might actually start to dissolve naturally, leading towards what you call tremendous health.
Absolutely. That's the beautiful potential here, aligning perfectly with holistic understandings of the body-mind-heart system. If the heart acts as the central integrative hub, physiologically, energetically, perhaps even perceptually, then consciously cultivating that connection, listening to the heart, could trigger a positive ripple effect throughout the entire organism.
Yeah.
This conscious connection can help regulate the autonomic nervous system, gently shifting the body out of those chronic protective fight, flight, freeze modes. As the nervous system finds a safer baseline, the chronic tension held unnecessarily in fascia and muscles can begin to release. As fascial tensions ease, posture might align more naturally, breathing deepens, and the entire somatic system can move organically toward greater balance, fluidity, and resilience. It's about restoring coherence from the core outwards.
This is really exciting. Okay, this is the part where we bring all these fascinating insights together into powerful, actionable practices for you, our listener. Let's talk about this concept you framed, Duhkha Cloud Busting, an integrated practice aiming for clarity, peace, and unity. First, how does mindfulness specifically help us sense our fascia and expand our awareness into the body?
Mindfulness is really the foundation here. It can profoundly train our awareness to pick up on those subtle fascia sensations we were talking about. Practices like very slow, mindful movement, focused interoceptive attention, tuning into inner sensations like warmth, pressure, vibration, doing micro-movement scanning, tiny adjustments to feel the tissue response, or classic body scanning. All these help you begin to sense the actual fabric of yourself, not just the big muscle feelings.
So it helps shift from just thinking about the body.
Exactly, to actually being inside the body. It helps expand your conscious awareness into the whole volume of your body, supported by that vast network of fascial receptors. You start to literally sense the three-dimensional fabric of yourself, the spaces within, inhabiting your body more fully.
I love that idea of being inside the body, inhabiting the volume. Okay, now for the core visualization you mentioned, what's this about clouds and a heart sun? It sounds intriguing.
Right. This provides a really powerful, practical, and intuitive visualization tool. We take the concept of confusion, tension, suffering, often encapsulated by the Sanskrit term dukkha, meaning inherent unsatisfactoriness or suffering.
Okay, Duhkha.
And we visualize these states, the worry, the stress, the confusion, the sadness, as toxic polluting clouds drifting within our mind and body space. Think smog, fog, heavy storm clouds.
Got it. And the heart.
Then you visualize your own heart, or the heart space in the center of your chest, as a radiant, warm, brilliant sun. A heart sun whose very nature is clarity, warmth, healing, and unity. And the function of this heart sun is simply to shine, and its light naturally dissolves or shines away these dukkha clouds. It creates this vivid contrast and gives you a really actionable image for inner transformation. You're not fighting the clouds, you're cultivating the sun.
And we can combine this heart sun visualization with the practice of metta, or loving kindness meditation, right?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Absolutely. It integrates beautifully. You can essentially turn traditional metta meditation into a dynamic, cloud-dissolving mindfulness practice.
How do you start?
You begin inwardly. First, mindfully notice the dukkha clouds present within yourself right now, the tensions, the worries, the judgments. Acknowledge them with gentle compassion without getting lost in them. Then bring your awareness to your heart space, to your heart sun. Feel or imagine its warmth and light beginning to grow, radiating outwards into your body, gently dissolving those inner toxic clouds. As you do this, you can silently offer metta phrases to yourself. May this suffering dissolve. May clarity and peace arise within me. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful.
So the key is noticing the cloud within yourself first, with kindness.
That's crucial. Acknowledging your own dukkha gently before trying to fix anything or extend outwards. It transforms the practice into this mindful, embodied connection with your own inner reality.
And then the practice expands outward from there.
Yes, exactly. Once you feel some inner clearing, you visualize this healing light, this radiance from your heart sun expanding beyond your own body. Imagine it forming glowing, ever larger spheres of light and warmth. And you consciously send this light and loving kindness outwards. You follow the traditional metaspheres. First, to loved ones. May you be free from suffering. May you be happy, healthy, peaceful. Visualize their clouds dissolving. Then, to neutral people you encounter. Then, importantly, to challenging people, not necessarily to condone actions, but to gently release the tension you hold around them, dissolving those clouds of resentment or anger within your sphere. And finally, expanding out to all beings everywhere. May all confusion dissolve. May all beings find clarity and peace. May all beings be free from pain and pollution. Visualize these collective clouds of suffering dissolving in this vast shared radiance.
This sounds like it could be a really engaging and, well, kind of empowering practice.
Yeah.
And you've even playfully gamified it. Duhkha Cloud Busting. I love that name.
Yeah, we wanted to make this profound practice feel accessible, maybe even enjoyable and dynamic, especially if traditional meditation feels difficult.
Yep.
So we framed it almost like a friendly inner game we call Duhkha Cloud Busting.
Okay, break it down for us. Clouds as enemies.
Sort of. We playfully labeled different types of dukkha you might encounter. Worry whirlwinds, those quick, swirling, anxious clouds. Confusion fogs, the slow, dense ones where you can't see clearly. Stress smogs, thick, persistent, hard to dispel clouds. Or maybe sadness storms, heavy, dark, lingering ones. Naming them makes them less overwhelming.
I like that. And the heart sun has levels, like in a game.
Exactly. You can visualize your heart sun growing stronger as you practice, as you bust more clouds. Maybe it starts as a gentle ember. With practice, it becomes a steady, radiant glow, then maybe a blazing beacon that cuts through dense fog, and ultimately perhaps a solar flare, an unstoppable force of clarity and healing compassion.
And power-ups. You mentioned power-ups.
Yeah, simple actions you can take anytime to give your heart sun a temporary boost, like a breath boost, taking a few deep, conscious breaths. A smile spark, just letting a gentle smile touch your lips, which actually signals safety to your nervous system. Or a memory medal, briefly recalling a genuinely joyful or peaceful memory to rekindle the warmth.
So it's really interactive. Are there levels for progression too, tying back to the metaspheres?
Yes, each level can represent one of those expanding metaspheres. You start at level 1, your personal heart sphere, clearing your own clouds. Level 2 might be the close friends and family sphere. Level 3, the community sphere. Level 4, the global sphere. And maybe level 5 is the universal sphere, extending to all beings.
And maybe boss clouds?
Definitely. At the end of each level, maybe you face a bigger, tougher boss cloud, representing a really deep-seated emotional pattern, a major life stressor like the giant worry cyclone or the ancient grudge gall. To get past it, you need to combine your power-ups, focus your heart sun's full radiance, and bring genuine meta-compassion to that specific challenge.
You could even keep score.
Why not? Assign points for busted clouds, bonus points for using power-ups effectively. Imagine vibrant visual rewards in your mind's eye, flowers blooming, birds flying free, rainbows appearing in the cleared space. You could even mentally award yourself achievement badges for consistency or for tackling a tough boss cloud. It makes practice less of a chore and more of an engaging journey.
That makes it so much more fun and tangible, especially for people who find sitting still difficult. And this isn't just for formal meditation sessions, right? You see this as a general strategy for daily life, even for handling conflicts or stressful moments at work.
It absolutely is. The goal is to make this a portable, real-time strategy for navigating the inevitable dukkha clouds of daily life. We can use a simple, practical checklist as a quick reference guide you can use anytime, anywhere.
Okay, walk us through the checklist.
Sure, it's simple. 1, spot the cloud. First, just notice the tension, the confusion, the irritation arising. Maybe mentally name it. For example, stress smog is rolling in. 2, pause and breathe. Take 1 to 3 conscious, maybe slightly deeper breaths. Intentionally activate your heart sun visualization feel or imagine a little warmth or light in your chest. 3, shine the heart sun. Imagine its light growing a bit stronger, gently sending its rays into the cloud, not fighting it, just illuminating it. 4, dissolve and clear. Visualize the cloud thinning, dispersing, dissolving in the light. Notice any subtle shift towards calm or clarity, however small. 5, extend metta. Optional but powerful. Briefly send a wave of love and kindness first to yourself, maybe peaceful, then perhaps to others involved in the situation. May we find clarity. 6, take inspired action. From the slightly clearer, calmer place, then choose how to respond or act. Seek unity or constructive solutions if possible. 7, celebrate and reflect. Briefly acknowledge your effort. Okay, busted that cloud. Maybe you note your current heart sun level felt like a radiant glow that time. This reinforces the positive pattern.
That's super practical. A pocket tool for emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Now, one last refinement. To prevent this powerful heart sun from becoming just another egoic tool, another thing I am doing,
Yeah.
how do we deepen the practice, spiritually perhaps?
That's a beautiful and important point for deepening the practice. To prevent egoic attachment, my heart sun is so powerful, you can consciously shift the visualization. Imagine your personal heart sun not as an isolated personal light source, but as a manifestation, a window, or a channel for a vast, universal, infinite source of light and warmth.
Like connecting to something bigger.
Exactly. Think of it like the Ein Sof in Kabbalah, the infinite, unmanifest source beyond all attributes, or a central sun of all existence, or simply universal consciousness or boundless love. Your heart is simply allowing this universal light to shine through you. This naturally fosters interconnectedness, humility, and links your personal clearing process to a sense of cosmic unity. It aligns perfectly with the idea of the heart as a unity center, not just for your body, but potentially for all existence. It shifts the practice from something you do to something you are participating in, dissolving those egoic boundaries in its boundless, compassionate embrace.
So for you, listener, what an incredible journey we've taken.
Yeah.
We've traveled from the intricate microscopic web of fascia that holds us together,
through the ancient wisdom traditions, viewing the heart as a seat of consciousness, and saw how that's surprisingly echoed in modern scientific discoveries about heart-brain communication.
All the way to a practical, even playful gamified method like Duhkha Cloud Busting for transforming inner conflict and cultivating peace, clarity, and unity.
We've really seen how deeply our body, our nervous system, our heart, and our mind are inextricably linked, and how perhaps the deepest sense of safety and clarity we long for can arise not from building higher walls, but from fostering this embodied connection to the heart, as the heart.
Which leaves us with a final, perhaps provocative thought for you to mull over. If our fundamental startle reflex, our ingrained need for protection, is constantly scanning, constantly on standby, could integrating this profound unifying wisdom of the heart, seeing it not just as yours, but as a conduit for a universal boundless light, allow us to truly dissolve chronic tension?
Not by forcing relaxation, not by fighting the tension, but by fundamentally shifting our very perception of safety, moving it away from external vigilance and grounding it firmly in an unshakable internal wellspring of peace and coherence, radiated from the heart outwards.
We really encourage you to explore this Dukkha cloud busting concept, or any practice that resonates with connecting to your heart's wisdom in your own life. Sense the subtle shifts, notice the moments of clarity, and feel the profound peace it might bring, even as the world outside continues its often unpredictable cloudy dance.